Aloha and welcome back to Leaving the Church to Find God, your safe space for exploring faith beyond traditional walls. I'm your host, Melissa, and whether you grew up in the evangelical church like I did, or any other system while seeking answers, you're in the right place. This podcast isn't about judgment or attacking institutions. It's about honest conversations, diverse spiritual paths, and celebrating the unique journeys that we all take in search of meaning. We've all experienced indoctrination in some form, and here we explore how it shapes our understanding of ourselves and the divine. Each week, we'll dive into thought-provoking topics, share inspiring stories from guests and listeners like you, and offer tools and insights for navigating your own deconstruction journey. Remember, leaving the church doesn't mean leaving your faith. It's about finding your own authentic connection to something greater. So buckle up, embrace the open dialogue, and join me as we explore what it means to move beyond confines and discover the deeper personal connection to the divine that exists within us all. Aloha, God Pod, and welcome back to Leaving the Church to Find God. It's so nice to have you here today, and I'm very excited to talk about this. I have known that it was coming. I just didn't know how it would come together, but I've really been receiving a lot of guidance on how to have this conversation, and I just can't wait to share it with you. So today we're going to talk about miracles and the power of belief. So I want to start with some miracles that I actually witnessed as a child and some that I had heard of growing up. My grandfather was someone who actually laid his hands on people and healed them. And my cousin's eyes were crossed as a child, like very much crossed. And she had these very thick glasses and could hardly see. And with him laying hands on her, her eyes were uncrossed. Another little girl that I grew up with, she was very bow-legged, and it was really affecting her ability to walk and develop. And again, when hands were laid upon her, her legs straightened up. I believe that happened easily because children don't have all the fear and other beliefs counteracting that. We're still closer to our source, like our, knowing who we really are. And so I do feel like these things happen more easily for children than adults because of belief, which we're going to further get into. Growing up, I also heard the story about my Uncle Joe, who had a degenerative bone disease and had lost the femur in his leg. It was completely gone. Had been on crutches for years, and this was getting worse. It was going to, take his spine and everything. So this was a long time ago, and the only solution was to put in a bar basically going up his leg and all the way up his spine, so he would be disabled for the rest of his life, but have some mobility. So that was the best answer. And my grandparents were not willing to accept that as a reality. So they, of course, prayed and prayed and prayed, and they had gotten a message from God that he was going to be healed. So the day of his surgery, they kept insisting to the doctors that he was healed. And the day before the surgery, there were x-rays taken. The bone was still not there. Then the next day, they just begged and pleaded that before the surgery happened, that the doctors take x-rays one more time. And they did. And of course, the bone was there in his leg out of nowhere. And he was completely healed from then on out. I know my Uncle Joe to be very able-bodied and walking and all of these things. So this was also a story that was reiterated throughout my life. And being in the family, knowing these people, I very much believe in the credibility of it. So those things, again, growing up in the church, solidified, this is right. What I'm learning here is right. But it was just because those things were true and were happening doesn't validate all of the other teachings in that institution. And I'm really going to break that down for you today to understand why and what is actually happening there. What really brought this together for me was just a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a friend, and she was telling me a story about someone who was healing through Dr. Joe Dispenza, who I'll speak more of. And he had gradually healed, from the toes up. And it reminded me of my friend Holly. I used to work with Holly. I was in my early 20s. She was in her 20s. She had contacted meningitis when she was a child, and she remembers her back hurting really bad. And within a matter of a few hours, she was paralyzed from the waist down and had been for 20 years at this point, or 15 to 20 years. And so I knew her in a wheelchair, paraplegic, and she started going to church with me. And at one point we were having a prayer service where people were being prayed and praying for miracles and all of these things. And of course everybody wanted the shock and awe of her being raised from the wheelchair, but it didn't happen that way. I was beside Holly because I was praying for her, and I heard my grandfather very quietly tell her, God's going to heal you, but it's not going to happen overnight. You're going to start feeling in your toes, and when that happens, thank God for the healing. And then it's going to start to move up your legs. Slowly, it's going to start to move up, and you're going to gradually regain feeling, and you're going to be able to walk again. But every time you feel a new feeling, thank God for it. Thank God for your healing, and know that you're going to be completely healed. And I always wondered why she wasn't just healed overnight. Why wouldn't God just build everybody's faith and heal her right there in front of our eyes? But what I've realized is because it wasn't happening in that way that we thought that it was actually belief and vibration, and that belief had to be built in her. She had to, when she got the feeling in the toes, it gave her some belief of, oh my goodness, this could happen. And then she showed gratitude for it. And then more came. And so her belief was built up gradually as she gained this feeling. I didn't know this. I didn't work with Holly, but for too long after, she had this message from my grandfather, but she contacted me a few years later and let me know that had happened, that she had walked again, that she had the gradual healing just as my grandfather had predicted. So that really, has got me thinking, because, I do all of this deconstruction around religion and the church, but also there's something very real there. And where's the real and where's the not real? And how did these miracles happen? We hear stories of miracles happening in the Bible and happening all over. And I just really want to break that down so that we can continue this miraculous living in our day-to-day lives. So this leading me back to the power of belief. So I've come to understand through my own spiritual journey that the law of attraction teaches that belief combined with emotion and gratitude creates our reality. Miracles occur not only because of a person or a place facilitating them, but because of the alignment of the belief, the faith, and the feeling with the vibrational energy of the desired outcome. So how do beliefs manifest? Our beliefs influence our thoughts, which then shape our emotions and guide our actions. These actions create our reality. If you go back to some of our other, when I'm talking about intuition and embodiment, and in those episodes, I often speak of inspired action. And this is what I'm talking about when we have this inspiration come from our greater perspective and we take action on that inspiration. So when I talk about inspired action, that's what I'm talking about. So, for example, if you believe in abundance, your thoughts will reflect this, leading to positive emotions and actions that attract abundance into your life. This is how belief, faith, and the feeling creates the vibrational alignment necessary for miracles to manifest. So, let's talk a little bit more about vibrational energy. Everything in the universe, including our thoughts and emotions, is made up of energy, and that energy vibrates at different frequencies. High vibrations are associated with positive states like love, joy, and gratitude, while lower vibrations are linked to negative states like fear, anger, and despair. So we have our own energetic vibration, our own thumbprint that we come into this world with, but what we're feeling will affect that. It will align us with other vibrations that create this reality, right? So if you think of your vibration as your mood or your energy, when your thoughts and feelings and beliefs are aligned with higher vibrations, you attract experiences that resonate with those frequencies. It's similar to how a radio tunes into different stations depending on this frequency. What you tune into is what you experience. By consciously raising your vibration through positive thoughts, emotions, and beliefs, we align ourselves with the energy of abundance, healing, and miracles. So, getting practical on this, as I always do, tackling fear and belief are essential steps in raising your vibration and aligning with the reality that you desire. Some tools that can help you with this, of course, are meditation and mindfulness. You can start with daily meditation to quiet the mind and tune into your inner voice, focus on your breath, and allow any fears or limiting beliefs to surface without judging them. Acknowledge them, and then gently release them as you return to a state of calm. And for me, how this has worked is I just give them space. Like, okay, I know there's this part of you that is based on past experience that is afraid that if I do this, that this thing is going to happen. And I see you and I feel you, and those thoughts and beliefs are real and they're valid. However, we know a lot more now, and we're in a much different place. And that was then, and this is now. And now I've got us. And that really puts that inner child, that's those scared parts of myself to rest, in knowing that I've got us, like we're good. Or I'll work through to what's the worst that could happen. If we take this action, what's the very worst thing that could happen? And typically, like when I work through that, I get to like, not that bad. Wherever it goes, it's always something that I can recover from. As long as I have life and breath in my body, we can start over. We can recover. We can take what we've learned and build upon this new learning. It's never all lost. As long as we have life, it's never all lost, right? Of course, using affirmations, which we've spoken to before, that can help to reprogram the subconscious mind. Again, with affirmations, like you have to believe them. You have to believe them when you use them. Otherwise, it creates more resistance, right? But if you struggle with fear around financial abundance, affirmations like I am worthy of financial success, or again, if that doesn't even feel like something you can believe, what if I were worthy of financial success? That will kind of soften that to you so that you can build that belief and really believe it when you say I am worthy of financial success, or money flows to me easily and effortlessly. Those things can help shift our mindset. But again, we have to build the belief to them. If what we're saying to ourselves is in resistance to what we actually believe, it can make things worse vibrationally. Visualization. Visualize what you want to create. See it happening. That helps you to create the feeling state, right? When you can mentally rehearse it happening. Like so many athletes use this, right? Before they go into a competition, they'll mentally rehearse themselves winning, and then they win. And that's what happens, is it trains the mind of this is what's happening. And when we feel it, like our brain can't really distinguish between what is real and what isn't, like real and physical reality. If we are feeling it and we are seeing it, then it literally will reprogram our subconscious to believe that. But again, you have to build your beliefs. A lot of times, if you're in this very low feeling state and what you're trying to accomplish is in a very high feeling state, you've got to bring yourself up to that feeling state to get there, right? Gratitude. Gratitude is everything. Cultivating, or appreciation, as I like to call it. Gratitude, for me, I think is a little triggering because it just brings me back to that churchy feeling of we have to earn things and it's being given to us from an outside source. And we are part of source. We are, we have our own portion of the divine. So I don't really believe that. I will say gratitude a lot. I think a lot of people identify with that, but just know, I mean appreciation, right? Just appreciating the things that are coming to us. And cultivating a daily practice for this, whether it's through a journal, we talked about this last week, how it can really shift the brain, right? And help us to create new beliefs. But it naturally raises the vibration because it gets us looking and focusing on what's going right, what's going in the way that we want it to, rather than focusing on the things that are not going the way that we want to. Writing down and mentally acknowledging like 3 things that you're grateful for every day. That's a great place to start because it will train your brain to start looking for things to be grateful for. Like that song I was telling you about, like beautiful chorus, gratitude, bring through 4 more things to be grateful for. And that's it, right? Shifting your brain to start looking for the things to be grateful for. That will help to get you in a vibration, a feeling state of, yes, these things are possible. Wonderful things happen to me. Why wouldn't it happen in this way, right? And again, challenging limiting beliefs. Whenever you notice limiting beliefs come up, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this belief really true? Why do I believe this? Where did this come from? and replace it with more empowering beliefs that align with your desired reality. Again, not denying and being like, oh, I'm terrible for believing and feeling this, or how dare you, or, being abusive to your inner child. No, accepting it, acknowledging it, embracing that all of these parts of me exist, and there's this mature adult self that has healed and that knows better, and that is creating a new reality for us. So you can take a back seat and let me drive for a while and see what happens. I'll tell my younger self, that my child self, that sometimes when there's fear there, I'll be like, well, what's the worst that can happen? And then I work through what's the worst that can happen. And I'm like, okay, so let's just experiment. You just take a back seat and let me drive this, and let's just see what happens. And it always works for me. I don't know, you got to find out what works for you, right? But also surrounding yourself with, I hate to use positivity because it can be so toxic. I don't use positivity in the way of like only think of positive things. But I do like to surround myself with things that feel good. I engage with content, people, environments that uplift and inspire me. So when I talk about being positive, that's what I'm referring to. It's not negating the negative beliefs or the limiting beliefs that we have. All of it has space to exist. Multiple things can be true at the same time, right? But when I talk about being positive, be careful of what you surround yourself with. If you noticed, I don't know if you guys have done this, but like when I started watching The Walking Dead, like many years ago, suddenly, and I remember my mom saying that her and my brother were experiencing this as well. They got me into the show. But like suddenly I'm looking for zombies everywhere, right? I'm looking for the undead just like showing up. I'm looking over my shoulder, this fear that something could come out at any moment, that things are going to fall apart. I've noticed that when I would watch like SVU or something, I would just be thinking a lot about like sexual assault and murder and all of these things. And that's where my thoughts were. So I'm really, really careful about who I'm around, what I watch, what I listen to, because I like to keep myself in a positive feeling state. Am I always there? Heck no. But I know how to get myself there when I need to be. Like recently, I've been going through some really trying stuff that's been very mentally taxing and really, really was bringing me down. And I am aware of this. I give myself space to feel everything. But also when I reached a point of like, okay, I'm ruminating, I'm replaying this thing over and over again, and I'm not coming to any solutions, then I take it to the valley is what I call it. So I went to Yao Valley, my happy place, and to be in the trees and the river and the rocks. And it wasn't a quick parking lot stop where I go to the quick little pools by the parking lot for a cool dip. No, I really have to get myself immersed in the valley, and I'll go for a little hike and find like a place of solitude to just be there with nature. I intentionally let the river wash the things through me. I use the Native American practice of submerging myself 3 times, and each time releasing these things that aren't serving me and handing it over to my broader perspective, to God, to a higher power, to whatever you believe in, but just handing it over and saying, my mind has done all that she can do with this. I'm handing it over to you now. I'm not going to ruminate on this. I'm not going to let this take over my vibration and get me out of this happy, amazing feeling state that I've been in. And it did for a little while, but I released it. Once I recognized that, like, this is going nowhere but down, I took the necessary steps to get myself back into a positive feeling state. And I didn't leave the valley until something new had come through. Not even a solution for that, but actually yesterday it was for this podcast. It was like, it's time to do the miracles episode. And then I started thinking about it, and then I got really excited. And instead of ruminating on the situation that I was stressed out about, I left really excited and thinking about this episode and what I was going to share with you and what I was going to talk about. So when I talk about surrounding yourself with positivity, this is what I'm talking about. Like, there was a study recently that I saw where they over and over and over again, they did this. They took people in a room to work on a project, like together, right? And then they had other people, the same amount of people in another room working on a project. Y'all forgive me. I'm going to butcher the heck out of this, but you will get the point of it. I promise. I'll try to promise. I don't know. I'm doing my best. But they had the people in the one room working together. Everybody was just of a regular mindset. Everything was going well. Inevitably, every single time they tried this, in the other room where they had one negative person, and within half an hour, everybody's energy would shift into being a more negative mindset. That's how important it is, the people that you keep around you, the people that you surround yourself with. And this doesn't mean like, oh, that person's negative, I'm never going to talk to them again. No, but really be aware of who you're inviting into your circle, of who you're having close to you, because it has a deep, deep effect on your life. And this goes beyond the spiritual and the woo-woo. Like, this has been proven. Studies have been done about this. So surrounding yourself with good feeling thoughts, people, things, those are going to help to keep you in this higher vibrational state. So going back to the healing in the church that I experienced, I think that one aspect of this that I've always respected about my grandfather was his humility, right? He never exalted himself as a healer or a miracle worker. He always gave credit to Jesus, which in a way prohibited him from using his own internal power in other ways, but it actually was very helpful for these people who needed miracles, right? But I believe this humility, it allowed him to facilitate true healing without getting caught up in his ego, like other figures like Benny Hinn, who are often accused of letting ego and performance overshadow genuine healing. And so then they're faking it, and which is actually decreasing people's faith and decreasing people's belief. And if you do want to go biblical, faith the size of a mustard seed moves the mountains, right? That's something that I keep, and I even got this as a child. I was like, there's a distinction here. They're not saying that Jesus is moving the mountains. They're not saying that God is moving the mountains. They're saying that faith, that's the belief, right? The evidence of things hoped for, right? And not yet seen. The faith of a mustard, just this tiny bit of faith, can move mountains. Now, there's parts of this that have been left out intentionally to keep us from our own personal power and from manifesting our desires. And I will get back into that in a few minutes. So Neville Goddard is a philosopher who taught about the power of imagination and faith in manifesting reality. He believed that what we imagine and what we believe with conviction becomes our reality, which resonates with what I saw in my grandfather's healing work. He never doubted the possibility of miracles, and thus they manifested. His faith was able to build faith in those around. And as people saw more and more miracles manifested, it built more and more belief. My grandfather deeply, deeply studied the Bible, and I believe that he saw these truths. And although there were some other misguided, indoctrinated beliefs in there, he really did get to the core of what it takes to create a miracle. However, he did not take credit himself, but he did, he had some stuff right about this. And we would have testimony services, right? Where we would spend the whole Wednesday night, everybody just getting up and giving their testimonies of the miracles and the blessings that had happened in their lives. So there was a lot of faith built in our church that created a space for these miracles to happen, for these beliefs to become real for us. And Neville Goddard's books, I have such a hard time saying his name, a lot of them have been changed because, again, the powers that be do not want us to know and understand our true power and ability to manifest our reality, which is why the Book of Thomas was chosen to be left out of the Bible, which I will get more into. But his books were titled like The Power of Faith and The Power of Feeling and The Miracle of Your Imagination. Those aren't the exact book names, but they're along those lines, right? And it was all about faith, feeling, imagination, and he even goes into biblical text if that's more of what you're interested in. He's got, I think, like 12 or 14 different books that are all talking about this and these methods. And this was, many, many years ago. So he's no longer alive, but his teachings are alive and well and being taught by many people. So like Dr. Joe Dispenza, who in the 80s, he was a chiropractor, and he had already done some experiments with other like telepathy and stuff with roommates and stuff. I really recommend his episode on Mayim Bialik's The Breakdown, because it goes into a different, like, earlier part of his life that I don't really hear him speak about in other episodes or books that he has. But it really, for me, helps to see how he built these beliefs. But he was paralyzed. He was in an accident in the 80s, and he was going to be disabled for the rest of his life, and he just refused to believe that. So he healed himself through the power of his mind. And he had committed that if this if he could be healed in this way, that he would make it his life's work to teach it to other people. And that's what he's done. And there are so many miracles. You can go on YouTube and listen to people tell their stories over and over again, people being healed from stage 4 cancer and things that are considered to be incurable. This is happening today in modern day times. His retreats, I think, have space for like 10,000 people, and they sell out in less than 10 minutes. And he works himself into the bone trying to get this to everybody. But, his retreats are known for this. And it's a lot of collective meditation and raising vibration. And there's other miraculous, amazing things that happen into these, but we'll save that for another episode. But Dr. Joe Dispenza was able to heal himself from being what would potentially be a quadriplegic into very able-bodied and, teaching this around the world. And he uses a form of meditation, visualization, like self-hypnosis, and beliefs, changing our beliefs. And he changes beliefs with research. It's in his dharma. He's a research person. So he does brain scans, he does blood tests, he does DNA tests, he does all of this testing on people before the retreats and after the retreats. And there are visible differences, huge differences that are made in the brain and throughout the body over the course of a few days. And so he speaks a lot about beliefs and changing beliefs, and I love his meditations. I have had psychedelic experiences from his meditations. I have experienced so much joy and self-expression from using his meditations. I highly recommend his work if it's something that feels like it resonates with you. But just like Holly's gradual healing, Dispenza's methods emphasize the importance of building belief and aligning our energy with the outcome that we desire. So, the Book of Thomas. As we delve deeper into these concepts, I just feel like it's really important to introduce you to a lesser known text that offers profound insights into the power within each of us, and that is the Book of Thomas. It was part of the biblical text originally and was left out of the versions that we know. And again, I believe this is intentional in the indoctrination to keep us from our personal power, because if everyone was reading the Book of Thomas, it would negate most of what they've learned from Paul and these other people who just want to indoctrinate people into a church of control. But this text is often referred to as the Gospel of Thomas as well, and it's part of the Nag Hammadi Library, which is a collection of early Christian writings that were discovered in Egypt in 1945. So the Book of Thomas is unique in that it emphasizes the idea of divine knowledge and the power within each of us to create and manifest our own reality. Unlike more traditional gospels, it doesn't focus on external miracles as much as it does on internal transformation and the understanding that the kingdom of God is within us. The teachings in this book align closely with what I've been discussing. It's the idea of belief, faith, and feeling. And when aligned with our inner divine nature, we can create the vibrational energy necessary to manifest miracles. By recognizing the divine within, as the Book of Thomas suggests, we can tap into the same source of power that enables these miracles. The source of all that is, right? It's all energy. Everything is energy, vibrating at different levels. So God, the source of creation that we are made from, that everything is made from, it's all this. There is no separation. And in this life, we have this illusion of separation. But the connectedness, the wholeness is available to us when we can understand beyond our mind's capacity and really tap into our intuition and our inner knowing and our beliefs. So what does all of this mean? Well, whether it's through the teachings of Jesus, Abraham Hicks, Bashar, the philosophies of Neville Goddard, the methods of Dr. Joe Dispenza, there's so many sources of this same information delivered in different ways so that people can hear it in the way that they need to hear it, which is why it's so important for us to be our unique, authentic selves, for us to speak in our authentic voice, because there's someone who needs to hear what we have to say from us. It's important that this comes through from so many different teachers in different ways, because we all hear things in the way that is aligned with us. And again, this is why I'm so hell-bent on teaching about authenticity, because we all have our own unique power that the world needs. We're giving it to share with the world around us. And when we can tap into that authentic self, just as these people have, we can really have a huge effect on not only our lives, but the future of humanity and of the planet. But the consistent theme in these beliefs is that belief, faith, and feeling create the vibrational alignment necessary to manifest miracles. It's not just about what we think. It's about how deeply we believe, the faith we hold, and the emotions we feel that aligns us with the reality that we desire. This alignment is what opens the door to the miracles. So coming back to how to put this into practice, imagination practice. Regularly use your imagination to visualize your desires as they have already been fulfilled. Feel as though it's already happened. How would I feel if this had already happened? Tap into those feelings. If you can see and feel the end result vividly, then this is going to help to bring it into fruition. Then our brain is going to look for the cues that lead us to our desired result. Feeling is key. You have to cultivate the emotions associated with having already achieved these goals. Feeling the reality of your desires helps bring them into manifestation. What does that feel like? It feels like ease. It feels like joy. It feels like relief. Whatever. Think about what the desired reality that you have is going to feel like. If it feels like movement, if it feels like health. And tap into what those feelings are. Tap in and let yourself imagine it being true and feeling those feelings. Use affirmations once you've started building the beliefs. Use affirmations that you can believe. If you can't believe them, add a what if to the beginning. Persistence. Like as we've talked about before, rewiring your brain, rewiring your beliefs, working through old belief systems that no longer serve you. This can take time depending on where you're at and how deeply ingrained these beliefs are. This can take longer for some people, for others. There may be things that we need to experience from a situation before it's resolved. But when you can just stay in there and believe, tap into that persistence, continuously hold on to your vision and belief, even when external circumstances seem contrary to that belief. Just hold on to the knowing that it is possible and that it can happen. That's necessary for these things to come into fruition. Faith and trust. Trust in the process and have faith that your inner world will manifest your outer reality. Applying these principles, it requires consistent practice and a deep belief in the power of your consciousness to shape your life. So to wrap up, I just want to remind you that miracles are not reserved for the few or the holy. It's not something that you have to earn. We don't have to be tested for it. It already exists. Everything that we can imagine already exists. We just have to align with that vibration to see it manifested into our physical reality. Remember that it's available to all of us. And when we align our belief, our faith, and our feelings with the outcome that we seek, there is no stopping it. If you want to go back to the Bible, remember, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened. Like when you believe that it's there, it's there. There's nothing to contradict that except our own beliefs, which are based in past experiences or other people's experiences. It's not even based in our current reality. Please let this be a reminder that you have the power to create miracles in your own life through the energy and vibration that you cultivate. I appreciate you guys being here with me. If you got something out of this, please share this episode with someone you think that could benefit. I am going to leave some links in the description so that you can check out some of these other teachers and teachings. And if something really feels like it's pulling to you, I encourage you to follow that nudge, right? Always follow the nudges. Thank you again for joining me on this exploration of miracles and the power of belief. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your stories, your experiences. Have you experienced miracles? What was that like? Tell me about it. And we've got the Authentic or Bust Facebook group. This is a great place to share that. You could share it in the comments. You can leave me a 5-star review on the podcast. It's a great place to share some of these things. You can message me. You can find me online at livealoud.com. You can find me through leavingthechurchtofindgod.com. There's so many ways to find me, but please share these experiences with me. How do you navigate the balance between faith and belief? I want to hear from you. I want to know what you've got to say too, right? We all have our own authentic individual piece, and the more pieces we put together, the more it helps us all build belief. Again, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. If you are on Apple Podcast, you do that by going to the page of this podcast, go up to the plus sign up top. Right while you're there, you can go ahead and leave me a 5-star review, say some nice things. It's always appreciated. And again, you can share it with someone if you feel like they'll benefit from this. So until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and stay authentic. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to show your support is to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, share your thoughts by leaving a 5-star review. It really helps more people to find this space. Want to go deeper? Head over to my website at leavingthechurchtofindgod.com. There, you can make a donation and make sure that we continue to have these conversations. No matter where you are on your spiritual journey, if you or someone you know would like to join the podcast and tell your story, please reach out to me on Instagram at authenticallymelly. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep finding your own unique connection to something greater. Until next time, stay authentic, stay open, and aloha.